All right, in this video, we are going to do a sample test for the American University math placement test. Now, these over here are the concepts that are covered in the test. About 12 or 13 different concepts, basically all stuff that you learn in high school. And the sample test is going to be 10 questions. I don't think it's going to involve all the topics over here, but it's going to involve a couple of them. So here's the sample test right over here, 10 different questions in this one. If you want to try the sample test yourself, just pause the video over here or go to the website. This is one straight from the website. But if you want more sample tests that are similar to this one that involves all those 13 topics that I showed you, just let me know in the comments and I'll make 3 or 5 different versions of this type of exam covering the different topics so that you can practice it yourself. So let's get started with this one. I'm going to solve these on paper over here. It's recommended to do these without a calculator. Don't think you'll be allowed a calculator in your exam. And also, you will have multiple choice questions in your exam, but they've not made these samples multiple choice. So we'll just solve them normally. Start with the first question over here. We're doing this with BEDMAS. So BEDMAS means I start with my brackets first. I'm going to start with the inside brackets right there. -3 plus 8 is just 5. And then 2 times 5 is 10. And I'll do the bracket again. 10 minus 2 is 8. So -7 plus 8 is -1. Second question here, they give us an equation in function notation and they tell us to find us the value of f of 3. That just means replace x with 3. So that's 1 plus 3 over 1 minus 3, which is 4 over -2, which is just -2. Third question, find an equation of a line passing through 2 points. So when we find an equation for a line, the equation for a line is always y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. We always start by finding the slope by doing y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, where these are your points. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So I have 2 minus 4 over -3 minus 1, which is -2 over -4, which is just, so negative and negative simplify, cancel out. 2 divided by 4 just simplifies to 1 over 2. So I know that my slope, my m, is 1 over 2, so I can rewrite it in my equation y equals to 1 over 2x plus b. Now I just need to figure out b by subbing in one of my 2 points back into this equation. When picking the points to sub back, I'll try and pick x as a multiple of 2 if possible. That's going to be easier to solve. If that's not possible, just sub in either point. If I look over here, neither one has an x multiple of 2, so I'm just going to sub in that first point there. This calculation is going to be a bit easier. So I'm replacing y with 4 and x with 1. Now I just have to solve for b. Start with this multiplication over here. 1 over 2 times 1 is just 1 over 2. Going to move it to the other side and subtract it. Need to make a common denominator over here. So I'll multiply the top and bottom by 2. And then if I subtract this, my b is just 7 over 2. So now I can rewrite my final equation for this question as 1 over 2x plus 7/2, and that is the equation of the line that passes through those 2 points. Question number 4, if 2x minus 5 times x plus 3, you just have a factored equation there that equals to 0. You need to solve it. So this is actually a pretty easy question. I don't want you to overcomplicate this. I know it looks complicated, but it's not. The first thing you'll do is you'll just multiply the bottom, cross multiply it across, because we have a common denominator, and 0 times anything is always a 0. So the bottom is just going to disappear. Now this over here is just a quadratic equation in factored form, and you can tell the solutions instantly from this. Now, if you're not sure how to do this, I was just going on YouTube, finding a couple of solutions to this, but it's pretty simple. All you want to do is you want to look at the number at the end over here, and you just want to flip that number around. So in this case, it's -5, so I'm going to flip it to +5. And in this case, it's +3, so I'm going to flip it to -3. Then you want to look at the number before the x, and if a number exists there, you just want to divide by that number. So 5/2 is my first solution. My second solution, that's just a 1, so I don't have to divide anything over there. So my second solution is just -3. Question number 5, we have a simplification of an equation, and we just have to factor everything here. If you're not sure how to factor, again, go on YouTube, look up how to factor and practice factoring. There's about 4 or 5 different factoring methods that you need to know. Again, I'm not going to explain them all in this video because it's not going to fit here, but I have a lot of factoring videos on my channel as well. You can just type in grade 10 factoring. You'll get a lot of practice problems. So x minus 4 cannot be factored. I'm going to write that the same. X squared minus 9 is just x plus 3 times x minus 3 by difference of squares. 2x plus 6, I can common factor out of 2, and I'm left with x plus 3. And 3x minus 12, I can common factor out of 3, and I'm left with x minus 4. Next, we can just cancel out anything from the top and bottom that's completely identical. So x minus 4, x minus 4, x plus 3, x plus 3. On the top, all I have left is a 2. And on the bottom, I have x minus 3 times 3. You always want to write the constant first and then the factor later. That is my solution for question number 5. Question number 6, we have f of x and we have g of x, and we need to write an expression for a composite function over here. So it's g of f of x in this case. G of f of x. We always start by replacing the internal function first, which is f of x in this case. So I'm going to replace f of x with whatever my f of x function is, which is 2 minus x squared. So now I have to do g of 2 minus x squared. So I'm just looking at my g function, and I'm replacing x with 2 minus x squared. I'm just replacing that x over there with 2 minus x squared. Now all I have to do is simplify this. So I'm just going to multiply the 2 into the bracket. Then I'm going to combine like terms. So negative 2x squared, I can just write that first. 4 minus 1 is just 3, and that's my solution to question number 6. Question number 7 says to supply a graph of this function over here. So this is a quadratic equation. And in order to supply a graph for this function, we need to factor it. So let's start by common factoring out a 2. And then this is a simple trinomial. You can factor with the man method. Again, I'm not going to explain this in detail, but go on YouTube and find factoring questions. Factoring is extremely important for this test. You need to know it perfectly well. And I have a lot of factoring videos on my channel, so just check it out and practice all of those. You need to find two numbers that multiply to -6 and add to -1. So it's just -3 and +2. So this is just -2 x minus 3 x plus 2. So now that it's in factored form, I can just do the solutions which give me my x-intercepts. So my x-intercepts are +3 and -2. So now I can make a sketch of this graph over here based on that information. My x-intercepts are +3 and -2. And this graph is a negative quadratic equation, so it's going to open up, and the vertex is going to be directly in the middle of these two. So to find the vertex, I just have to add these two and divide by 2. So the x value of my vertex is just at +12. To find the y value of the vertex, I can sub this back into the original equation. I'm not really sure that would be required for a multiple choice question because it would be kind of obvious. But we can start the sketch over here. So that's -2. That's 1/2. That's +3. The y-intercept over here is just 12 over there, which means if you subbed in half into that, you'd probably get something like 12.5 or 13 or something like that for the vertex, but not really necessary to find the y value there because you don't have a calculator here, so they wouldn't expect you to really do it without a calculator, although you could do it pretty easily if you wanted to. It would just take a little bit of time. If you want, I can show you the calculation here really quickly. Y equals -2, 1/2 squared minus 2 times 1/2 plus 12. 1/2 squared is just 1/4. That's just 1 plus 12. Oops, it's a -2. This is -1/2 plus 11. Oh, that should give me 10.5. Doesn't make sense. Where did I make my mistake? -2x squared. Oh, made mistakes in a couple of different places. Okay, so the main mistake I made was when I factored out the -2 here, I forgot to change this sign over here. This should have become positive x, which means that this is going to be +1 here, which means this is +3 and -2 is that's +3. That's -2, which means this is -3 and +2. So I had all the signs flipped. I'll redo my graph now. This is going to be negative and positive, which makes this a -1/2. And then if I sub this as -1/2, now everything makes sense. That's the same. This becomes +1. This becomes 13. And there we go. This becomes 12.5, like I kind of guessed at the start. So now this all makes sense because the vertex cannot be lower than the y-intercept in this case. I've actually sketched it out. Almost correct the first time. It's just this is -3. That's +2, and it's here a -1/2. So graph looks like this. So the vertex over there is -1/2 and 12.5, or basically negative 0.5 and 12.5. That's negative 3, positive 2, and then positive 12. And now it all makes sense. This point has to be slightly higher than this one. It couldn't have been 10.5. Okay, let's go to the 8th question in this video, which is a log question. Give us log x equals to 6 and log y equals to 4, and evaluate log of x squared over y. I'm going to use the rules of logs here. There's a couple of different ways to do this question, but we can use the rules of logs over here. So I'm going to break down this log into division. Log x squared minus log y, because division turns into subtraction of logs when you're splitting up a log. Then I can bring the exponent down using my rules of logs. So it's 2 log x minus log y. Then I know log x is just 6, so I can replace log x with 6. And log y is just 4. I can replace that over there. 2 times 6 is 12 minus 4. So final solution for this one is just 8. 9th question. (81 to the power of 1 over 4). You should be able to do that mentally, but the first thing I'll do is I'll just get rid of my negative exponents. Always easier to do that. You just have to move it to the bottom to get rid of this. 81 to the power of 1 over 4, you should be able to do that mentally. It's the same as the 4th root of 81. And 25 to the power of 1 over 2 is the same as the square root of 25. 4th root of 81 is just 3. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. You should know that. Square root of 25 is just 5. So final solution there is just 3 over 5. Then last question for this test is to supply a graph for this function over here, y equals to 3 minus 3 to the negative x. Now this is an exponential equation over here. We just want to start by writing this in proper order with the number at the end. I'm just going to move this number to the end. Now, there are a lot of different types of graphs of exponential functions. There's exponential growth, decay, and then there's all kinds of transformations. I'm not going to explain everything for this video, but again, if you just go to YouTube or even you go to my channel, you just type in graphs of exponential functions, you should find a couple of videos over there that explain to you how to do them. I'm just going to explain this one specifically. So for an exponential function, the first thing you do is you always draw your horizontal asymptote based on the number at the end over here, which is positive 3. So I'm going to draw a horizontal asymptote at y equals to 3. Then you look at this number over here. If this number is larger than 1, it's exponential growth. And if this number is smaller than 1, it's exponential decay. Oops, I drew that wrong. Exponential decay. So larger than 1, growth, smaller than 1, decay. This is growth over here. And then we have a couple of different transformations. We have a negative over here in the front, which means a reflection in the x-axis. So instead of going up like that, it's going to be going down like that. And if we have a negative over here, it's a reflection in the y-axis, which means instead of going up like that, it's going to look like decay actually. So since we have a double reflection, it's going to go down like that, but then it's also going to flip that way. So it's going to be a double reflection basically. So instead of the original going like that, we're going like that. The graph is going to look something like this over here. If you want to find the y-intercept, you can just plug in the x as a 0. So y equals negative 3 to the power of 0 plus 3. Negative 3 to the power of 0. 3 to the power of 0 is 1, so that's just negative 1 plus 3, which is 2. So that y-intercept over there is 2. So that concludes this sample test over here. If you want me to create like another 3 to 5 different versions of this type of sample test from those 13 different topics you've seen over there, some of the questions will be maybe similar to this one, some of them will be different. Let me know in the comments and I can definitely get to that. It doesn't take me too long. It takes me about 30 minutes to make a video like this, maybe 30 minutes of prep and 30 minutes to record the video. So just 1 hour, so not too long. Let me know in the comments if you want more sample tests like this and you find this useful. And please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you found this helpful. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.